It is heart-wrenching this morning to have to announce that in this country, slavery did not end for hundreds of thousands of people in 16 states, 20 counties in Mississippi. The question is, when did American slavery end? The American history books teaches us that enslaved blacks in the United States of America celebrated their freedom in 1863, when Abraham Lincoln freed us by emancipating the Emancipation Proclamation. But what if, just if, America's grips on slavery never loosened? What if slavery continued to be a reality for African Americans in 16 states and 20 counties throughout Mississippi? From Kosciuszko, Mississippi, the childhood home of Oprah Winfrey, to the hometown of Morgan Freeman, Clarksdale, Mississippi, down to the lonely roads of Money, Mississippi, where Emmett Till was murdered in 1955. What if the same hunger for the slave economy still nourished America's soul and perverted appetite as it feasted along the mighty rivers? Deep in the bowels of America's richest agriculture belt, behind a million cotton boats, lived the 20th century masters and African Americans, who were still under the whips and floggings of the masters and the overseers, still working from sun up to sundown, who dared to utter the word slavery, yet lives its reality each and every back-breaking day. So why don't you know anything about this best kept secret in America? The United States government knew, the FBI knew, the NAACP knew, Governor Earl Brewer of Mississippi knew, President Calvin Coolidge knew, President Franklin D. Roosevelt knew, local sheriffs knew, elected officials knew, and the Supreme Court knew. You didn't know because the truth of this American nightmare for those who lived it was buried in an unnamed darkness in dusty courthouse attics and the National Archives Department of Files in Washington, D.C. I have dedicated the last 10 years of my life searching and combing through thousands of documents located in the National Archives. 10 years ago, I had the honors of meeting a woman named Mae Louise Miller, who was bold enough, brave enough to say, I will give you my life experience as a slave. Although I had met many, hundreds before, located in St. Charles and St. John Parish. But in 2000, the year 2000, they were still afraid to talk about it. I have with me some complaints from the Department of Justice. I have with me files that can be reviewed that was written to the presidents. I'm going to turn this attention over now to Linda Hill to read two letters to you. One coming from the governor, Earl Brewer, of 1915 out of Mississippi, and also a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Mississippi Executive Department, Jackson, Earl Brewer, Governor, W.J. Buck, Private Secretary, April 8, 1915. Honorable C.R. Lee, U.S. District Attorney, Jackson, Mississippi. Dear Mr. Lee, I am handing you a letter from a darky, which is rather difficult to read, but which refers to the forced detention of a family on the plantation of Mr. Sel Jones at or near Sharkey, Mississippi. I will state that within the past month, at least 5 Negroes have been to me with pitiful tales as to the way they have been beaten up and the statement that they had to flee for their lives, leaving their families on this place. One of them was caught after having gotten some miles away and carried back there forcibly. It looks as if peonage was practiced on this place to quite an extent, and if your department could make an investigation, I believe you would unearth a bad condition there. I know it is a difficult matter to get evidence in such cases, but that you will do all in your power, I am confident. Sincerely, Earl Brewer, Governor. Henry Huck, Director, Abolish Peonage Committee of America, Oakland, Chicago, Illinois. To the Honorable Franklin L. Roosevelt, President, the White House, Washington, D.C. Dear Mr. President, the enclosed from Lonnie Kimbrough, a Negro with reference to his being held to a condition of peonage by one Mr. W.P. Scruggs in Sunflower County, Mississippi, in a self-explanatory. It is self-explanatory. I have talked with Mr. Kimbrough at length, and I am convinced that he was held to a condition of peonage as alleged. Mr. President, I think you know by now that the Negro people of this country are looking to you for a new emancipation so that the new form of slavery known as peonage, which entered the back door as a proclamation of Immortal Lincoln drove chattel slavery out of the front door, should be abolished now for all time to come, and we believe you will do it as no other can. There are laws on the statute book sufficient to wipe it away. These laws only need to be vigorously enforced. I believe you will do it, and I am trusting that you will cause a sweeping investigation of the charges alleged in this affidavit, and if the facts warrant, persecute to the limit. Thanking you and wishing you for another 4 years of success as our Chief Executive and the Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I beg to remain most sincerely yours, William Henry Huck.
I'm going to read a letter to you coming from the Department of Justice, Peonage Complaints, and Voluntary Servitude. Clarksdale, Mississippi, September the 10th, 1937. This letter was written. The Attorney General, Department of Justice, Washington, D.C. United States versus J.S. Decker Peonage. The investigation conducted by the Bureau has been completed and reflects a very aggravating offense. According to the investigation, Harry H. Dogan, Sheriff of Tallahassee County, received a complaint on July the 10th, 1937, from a Negro, J.W. Wiggins, who came to the sheriff's office telling a story about his wife being chained up in a cabin. On J.S. Decker's farm. The sheriff with one of his deputies proceeded to the Decker's farm. Upon arriving, went forth to the Decker's house. And when Decker came to the door, he had a revolver in his belt. The sheriff ordered Decker to put away his gun and to show him into the cabin in which Wiggins' wife was being held. According to the sheriff, when he entered the cabin, the Negro woman Ethel Lee Davis, alleged common law wife of J.W. Wiggins, was fastened by a trace chain, one end of which was looped around her neck and fastened by a padlock, connected to two links of the chain, and the other end of the chain being secured to the bed in the cabin. The sheriff ordered Decker to release the woman, which Decker did, unlocking the padlock with a key, which he had in his pocket. Mr. Dogan stated that on asking Decker why he had done such a thing, Decker replied, "The SOB are running away on me and I'm getting